Today is going to be a 4-for-1 video. Hello, welcome to my channel. Another bibliophile reads. My name is Greg, and I'm on a foolish attempt to make a video or impression of every book that I read in 2026. I had initially intended that each book would have its own video, but in reality, that's not very practical. So for this video, I am reviewing 4 books in one video. I have my own rating system that ranges from bloody hell yes to bloody hell no. It is a little blasphemous, a little bit humorous, but that fits my personality very well. So today I will be reviewing books 4, 5, 6, and 7. Rocannon's World by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is a group read over with Gareth at Book, Songs, and Other Magic. He decided to create this group where people will be reading all of Le Guin's Hainish Cycle books, 1 per month, until the end. I believe there are 8 books in the cycle, or Hainish Cycle, in total, but Rocannon's World is the first. Originally published in 1966 as an ace double, it was paired with Avram Davidson's The Car-Chi Rain. The opening of Rocannon's World begins with a prologue, Smelly's Necklace, which was originally published earlier as a short story, The Dowry of Angier, in 1964. Rocannon's World is science fiction with a strong heroic fantasy surface. An ethnologist, Gavril Rocannon, is stranded on a remote planet whose cultures range from feudal, elf-like aristocrats to subterranean craftspeople. Cut off from his team and technology, he undertakes a long quest across the world to warn the Interstellar League, the Ecumen, of an enemy base. He is forced into the role of a mystic, half-understood Star-Lord figure by the locals. The book is also notable for introducing the Ansible, Le Guin's famous device for instantaneous interstellar communication. I did a little bit of internet research to see how this book was received when it was originally published. In the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, Judith Merrill called it a successful version of a standard science fantasy approach, praising the way the fantasy elements fit a planet story frame and signaling out the charm and delicacy of the writing, while also damning with faint praise. Nothing here to keep you up thinking all night, but a pleasant few hours of reading. I think the Judith Merrill approach to this book is spot on. I did enjoy reading it for the most part, but this book, it lacks substance. Future Le Guin books are going to show the depth of Le Guin's intellect, but this book, it was just mildly entertaining. But this book has whetted my appetite to read more Le Guin. There will be in the future 2 Le Guin books that I absolutely love, and a third which I liked a lot, and maybe I'll love even more upon another rereading. But as for this book, I'm going to have to give it a rating. And I'm sorry to say this book is only a maybe, but I'm really looking forward to more Le Guin. And it's not too late to join the Le Guin reading group of all the Hainish Cycle books. I will leave my Voxer account in the description of this video, and come on and join if you want to read some Le Guin books. You do not have to read all the Le Guin books. If there's one book that you like, you can join just for that one, or join for another. It's all up to you. People of the Mist by H. Rider Haggard. This was read in conjunction with the Haggard in January reading group. This is a reading group created by Randy Ray, the literate Texan, to have people enjoy reading the novels of H. Rider Haggard. H. Rider Haggard's most famous novel, The King Solomon's Mine, is a great lost world adventure. And I read that last month, a little bit early for this event. People of the Mist is one of H. Rider Haggard's darker, more atmospheric lost world novels. While it shares surface elements with King Solomon's Mines, exploration, danger, and discovery, it is more mythic, fatalistic, and eerie in tone. The novel follows Leonard Outram, an Englishman who has lost his family fortune, but through rumor learns of a fabulous wealth to be found in Africa. During an exploration into unknown territory, Outram and his companions stumble into a remote, fog-shrouded region cut off from the modern world. There they encounter an isolated civilization whose beliefs, rituals, and the power structures are deeply bound in superstition, sacrifice, and fear. I started reading this book, and I was not impressed with the first third. I was thinking maybe I should DNF this book, but no, it's for Haggard in January, the event of which I am a co-host, and I decided I would push on. And then about halfway through, the characters encounter this remote civilization, and the book just took off gangbusters. I really enjoyed that second half of the book. Fabulous adventure. You have, of course, the characters. Leonard Outram shares a lot with Haggard's most famous character, Alan Quatermain, but Outram is more introspective and less romantically heroic. Some of the other characters in People of the Mist were absolutely fascinating. Outram hires Otter. He is an African dwarf. He is brave, perceptive, and emotionally grounded. One of Haggard's more sympathetically drawn supporting figures. And he is a black character. He is a true African and a dwarf. And he was such a fabulous character to read about. You really were rooting for Otter, of his bravery and his strength, and what he does in, let's just say, a pit of water is fabulous. A truly thrilling couple of chapters. So what do I think of People of the Mist? Throwing aside my disappointment of the first third, maybe up to the first half, I'm going to give this a ranking of hell yes. I think a lot of people will enjoy People of the Mist. Nothing But the Night by John Williams, originally published in 1948. Williams' debut is a short, psychologically intense novel that follows Arthur Maxley, a troubled young man drifting through a single day and night in a city, drinking and spiraling as he confronts and resists confronting the traumatic root of his damage and his estrangement from his father. That is the essence of the plot. There is not a lot of plot. And this book, it suffers a little bit from it being a first novel. It does not quite cohere. Arthur is not a sympathetic character. Now, I can feel for Arthur in the story. He is 24 years old, and at one time in my life, I was a 24-year-old man struggling with the world. Where was my place in the world? So I could feel a little bit of Arthur's anxiety and angst. But as a novel, it just did not work very well. In his later years, John Williams created a distance between himself and his first novel. I think that is the right approach. A lot of authors don't think highly of their early work. They're much more fond of their later work. And his later work are Stoner, The Butcher's Crossing, and Augustus. Those are three novels that I want to read during this year. I had originally thought I'd be reading Nothing But the Night in January and moving directly on to Stoner in February, but I've decided to do this as a quarterly project So Stoner will be Q2 of this year in April, and then move on to Butcher's Crossing in the third quarter, and finish it up with Augustus in the fourth quarter. The afterword of this novel is an interview with John Williams' widow. She mentioned that he wrote this book when he was 22. He went off to World War II as a radio operator and was shot down in a plane. He survived, but he was injured. He was injured enough that they would have sent him home if they had the ability to send him home, but they didn't. So he got to hang out on a military base with nothing to do but write a book. Okay, so I have to give this book a rating. I'm going to rate it no. I don't think a lot of people would enjoy reading this book, and I'm only reading it, or actually rereading it, because I'm on this project to read all of John Williams' novels. This is also part of another project where I'll be reading one NYRB classic every month. Mexico Set is a 1984 spy novel by Len Deighton. It is the second novel in the first of three trilogies about Bernard Sampson, a middle-aged and somewhat jaded intelligence officer working for the British Secret Service. That's MI6. Mexico Set is part of the Game, Set, Match trilogy, the first of the trilogies. It is a little bit difficult to talk about Mexico Set because, as I said, it is the second book in a trilogy, and you really do need to read the first of the trilogy, Berlin Game, before picking up Mexico Set. There is a major event that happens in the end of Berlin Game. It would be a spoiler to talk about it, but when Mexico Set opens, that spoiler is wide open in the book. So I'm going to be a little bit foggy and shadowy when discussing parts of this book. The story begins in Mexico, where Sampson is on the trail of a Soviet spy, a KGB major working in East Germany, whom London Central wishes to coax over to the West. So, as a spy, Sampson must discover the secrets of this KGB major and see if he can be coaxed over to convert, to defect. And let us say, things are happening behind Sampson's knowledge, that people are pulling him along, that is, Sampson as a puppet. And what I really like about Deighton's spy novels are, you get the feeling that this is what spying is actually about. There's very little of the daring do that you will encounter in James Bond movies. In fact, Deighton, or to say Sampson, has a hard time finding a gun when he needs one, which is what I like about these spy novels. I get that realistic feeling. How would I rank Mexico Set? I'd give it a hell yes. I'm still working on my Read What You Own challenge. That is the challenge where I'm supposed to be reading 25,000 pages of books that I already own before buying another book. It has been a little bit of time since I've given an update on those scores. So let me give you the page counts that I have been reading. Rocannon's World was 144 pages. People of the Mist was 365 pages. Nothing But the Night was 127 pages. And Mexico Set was 384 pages. That brings my total for this video to 1,020 pages. And my total reading so far since the beginning of this challenge is 12,124 pages, which, if my math is correct, 48.85% of my challenge has been completed. On to the rest. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.